Ninti One is a unique organisation with an intimate understanding of the issues that affect economies and lives of people who live in remote Australia. One of the key priorities for Ninti One is job creation.
Ninti One is a national not-for-profit company that builds opportunities for people living in remote Australia, mostly through research, and that research leads on to innovation and eventual benefits for the communities through community development.
Remote areas of Australia are home to a range of diverse cultures and communities, with shifting landscapes that vary from the hot deserts through to the many remote coastal communities. 3% of Australia's population live in remote areas that make up around 86% of the country's landmass. 40,000 small to medium-sized enterprises operate out of remote Australia. 45% of Australia's export market, worth around $90 billion annually, is derived from these regions. The oldest living culture in the world live in some of the most remote and diverse parts of our country. The language tapestry alone is vast, with over 50 different languages spoken across an area spanning more than 1 million square kilometres.
What attracted me to Ninti One in the first place was that it was looking at remote Australia, an area that's really neglected in a lot of public policy. The opportunity to be able to have some influence in policy directions and to be able to get the voice of people in remote Australia up to the government.
At ground level, there are intrinsic challenges that these communities face, especially in regard to sustainable development, employment and well-being. Ninti One works to identify the cause of these challenges and create practical solutions to overcome them. At the core of Ninti One is the way of doing things that values people and relationships. Ninti One recognises that healthy communities and sustainable economies can only be achieved with the participation and partnership with the people who live in remote Australia. Ninti One has a strong commitment to employing Aboriginal and Torres Strait Island people as Aboriginal community researchers to ensure authentic engagement and a greater efficiency in the research compared to information and data gathered by external researchers. The employment agreement includes agreed casual rates, including the time spent in startup workshops and inductions. These researchers use a range of skills, including Aboriginal languages and literacies, and contribute to all phases of the research, including design and fieldwork in their communities, face-to-face surveys, focus groups, data collection, cultural analysis and reporting.
One of the real hallmarks of the success of Ninti One has been the development of the Aboriginal Community Researchers Program. Not only do we train them, but we also provide them with equipment like access to vehicles, access to iPads so they can record information in a way that's able to be transmitted back to headquarters. And it really does consolidate our position as providing evidence base back to inform policy. And it's critical into the future to know that firstly there's job creation at a local community, there's upskilling of people, and that's critical if we want to get policy that's going to be effective, that's going to be meaningful to the community. We need to get the advice of the community because many of the solutions rest with the community.
The Interplay project provides policymakers and business with an objective measure or framework for the complex interrelationships or interplay between health, well-being, education and employment, and the important role of culture, empowerment and community. Ninti One's research conducted on feral camels from 2005 to 2008 resulted in a series of groundbreaking reports about camel impacts and management options. The project established agreements across the states and territories of Australia and consent from many landholders and traditional owners of remote Australia. This project included the training and employment of over 500 Aboriginal people in environmental monitoring and on-ground removal activities. Ninti 1 partnered with Brian Holden Vision Institute in a project that focused on Aboriginal patient eye care pathways. A total of 11 local Aboriginal people were recruited and employed during the project by Ninti 1. 2 cycles of research has now been undertaken and is now complete across the 4 sites in New South Wales and Northern Territory. Ninti 1 has been successful in creating employment opportunities in remote Australia. We believe that these initiatives and the employment of Australian Aboriginals and Torres Strait Islanders in the field of research have built community capacity and created role model pathways for future generational employment.
We see ourselves as being an integral part of remote Australia for the next 20 to 50 years. We've built up a really strong capability with our partners, and we see ourselves as the go-to people for research advice leading into policy, because we've got such intimately informed advice coming to us, particularly from the communities, to address these really important issues.